Hey, I'm in Amarillo, Texas, which I have to really fight the urge to say Amarillo because that's how it should be pronounced, but whatever. Amarillo, it's kind of got its own ring, its own flair. So anyway, I'm in Texas, which is kind of cool, I guess. It's kind of cold, not too bad. Um, I had a pretty terrible, terrible day, but there was a little bit of an upside to it. So started off waking up in somewhere in New Mexico. I don't even know where I was. And it was snowing, which is cool. Slept in my car. And I was driving, and I pulled off to the side of the road, and I pulled off, I'm on the free or highway, and it's like 75, so I pull off in order to kind of get out of the way, so someone doesn't hit me with their car. Well, those big trucks are kind of scary. Anyway, and I pull off into a little muddy patch, and as I'm pulling back in, the mud had caked to my tires, which I didn't realize would happen. Learned a lesson. Mud can cake to tires. And I totally lost traction and I slammed into a sign and cracked my right blinker. So I freaked out about that, found out it actually wasn't that big a deal. Um, and then I drove to Albuquerque and found out that their movement there died because their dean or their provost or whatever at the University of New Mexico um, wouldn't give them permits to protest, and so I guess they held a funeral march for the First Amendment, which I thought was pretty pretty. It makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I've just been thinking a lot about today about how, and also I have Lisa Straley to thank for this. She talked about this too with me once, but it's like I was trying to park everywhere and I couldn't park anywhere. There was nowhere to park for that wasn't for money, and so I had to park illegally. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like if there is no public space. I mean, this is about parking and about the protest. Um, if there isn't public space, then if all space, literal space, is privatized, then you don't have space for public discourse, and you've essentially financialized freedom of speech. So I think it's weird that we have to apply to the government that we're protesting in order to protest that government, you know? I don't think that that is what our founding fathers meant when they wrote the First Amendment, freedom of speech and freedom of right to assembly. Um, Not necessarily saying that, we should be able to go anywhere or say anything or, occupy anything, but I'm just saying that I think we've fallen a little too far on one side of the spectrum. We need to kind of get a little more open to letting people protest where they want to protest. So from there I left after getting checked at a Jiffy Lube, which told me that I was street legal. They said, yeah, you're fine. But then I got a ticket, or really a citation. It's not going to show up on my record or anything, because apparently my right blinker couldn't turn on, and so a cop pulled me over for that. So it cost me $70, which sucks. Um, and then I made it to Amarillo, Texas, where I found out that there was not an Occupy movement, even though they said there was on their website. There was actually a rally and a series of rallies, but there's no actual space that people are occupying, which is like fine, do it for the cause, but at the same time, occupation, you can be part of the 99% without being part of the occupation movement. Don't call yourself Occupy Amarillo if you're not actually occupying anything. You have to take space. But at the same time, who am I to say what people are supposed to do? And so I don't know. I was kind of a little depressed today because I was sort of like, you know, between the tickets and going to two places across the country and neither of them actually being Occupy movements. I was kind of like, oh man, and started make me get depressed about like thinking like, oh, maybe this is just sort of like something that's made by the news media to like get viewers and sell things. Like maybe there's actually not a big movement out there like I thought there was going to be. Um, I'm still looking to look for it. I'm still on my way to New York. But even if there isn't a big movement, it actually, like, I don't know, what kind of cheered me up was thinking about, like, that's actually even a little more awesome. Like, even if it isn't as big in terms of numbers as they might, like, show in the media, like, that's its own kind of cool because I've been thinking a lot about that quote, like, never doubt that a small group of determined individuals can make change. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. It's sort of like even if there aren't a ton of Occupy movements with tons of people, the fact that the Occupy movement has such a stranglehold on the national discourse right now, and that they're I don't think there's very many people in America who don't know what it is. That's kind of awesome. That's power. And if people can keep this movement going until the next election season, it's going to be a real big deal. It's going to be one of the major talking points. Sort of like if the Tea Party can take over America, then maybe we can too. Um, so anyway, by the way, big props to everyone in Oakland who's occupying, protesting, and stuff. I think that's really dope. I kind of wish I was there with y'all. Um, we'll see if this turned out to be a good plan or not. Headed to Oklahoma City tomorrow. And yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't make any more longer than this. So,